Welcome to Reddit Echoes, a place where real stories are told straight from the heart, stories filled with pain, struggle, but also inspiration and hope for anyone facing life's hardships. Today, I'm sharing a story not meant for the faint of heart. It's a journey through darkness, a time when right inside my own beloved home, I endured terrifying, painful days that no one should ever have to suffer. This is a story of betrayal, fear, and the unexpected resilience of a young person who once thought they'd never escape their wounds. But most importantly, it's a story about the light at the end of the tunnel, a light anyone can find if they dare to face their fears and never give up. If you've ever felt alone, hopeless, or unsure where to find comfort, join me in listening. Maybe this story will be the motivation you need to keep moving forward on the tough road ahead. Story 1. The Bad Wife and the House That Got Hauled Away. I'm an ordinary man with a simple dream to build a happy home for my family. I loved her, the wife I once thought would walk beside me for life. At first, everything was perfect. We bought a piece of land and borrowed money to build a house. My family helped a lot, from building materials to labor. I was proud that every brick and every wooden plank was the sweat and effort of my whole family. That house wasn't just a property to me. It was a symbol of love and connection. I worked hard day and night to pay off debts and care for the family to keep that home intact. But everything started to change when my wife changed. The first signs were subtle. I noticed she became quieter, spoke less, and her eyes lost their gentleness. I asked, but she either stayed silent or brushed me off. One evening, I found her phone lighting up constantly with strange messages. I didn't want to believe the worst, but I was wrong. I confronted her about the messages, but she just looked at me coldly and said, "Don't meddle in my business." I was hurt and deeply disappointed, but I still tried to keep the family together, to hold on to the home I had poured my whole life into. Then one day, things got worse. She accused me of abuse and filed a restraining order against me, forbidding me from stepping foot in the house that my family and I had built with so much effort. I stood outside the door looking at the empty house, feeling as if thousands of knives were stabbing my heart. I still had to pay for the land, the construction loans, and maintenance fees while living in a small room at my parents' house. That house is now where she comfortably entertains her lover and strange friends, living the life I once dreamed of sharing. Unable to bear it any longer, my family decided to do something that sounds crazy, but was the only revenge left. While she was on vacation with her lover, we hired a specialized truck, and machinery lifted the entire house off the ground and hauled it away. As the house left the land, my heart ached and yet felt satisfied. She returned to see only a bare foundation and a rickety makeshift shack. But the revenge didn't stop there. Disgusting, filthy items started appearing among her belongings: huge sex toys covered in dried cream, pornographic magazines, even flyers advertising prostitution with her phone number plastered everywhere. She had to change her phone number multiple times. Her car was burned down in the parking lot of her workplace. Those awful flyers were posted at churches, on streets, and anywhere she had ever lived or worked. I heard she once screamed and cried, seeing the house hauled away, the symbol of her happiness, now reduced to a desolate foundation and a ramshackle shack. Not long after, she sold the land ownership to a friend of mine. The house was returned to its original place intact, as if it had never been taken. But she wasn't. Her life fell into chaos. She gained weight, relationships broke down, and her new marriage didn't last. I know what I did can't undo the damage she caused, nor can it bring back lost years. But I have kept justice for myself, my family, and everything we built. Facing the truth. At first, she tried contacting me and my family to reclaim the house, saying I had stolen her life. I no longer wanted to argue or explain. Everything she did was just the desperate reaction of a betrayed person. One evening, she called me, her voice trembling with pain. Can you give the house back? I was wrong. I stayed silent. Don't stay silent like that. Give me a chance to make it right. I replied gently but firmly. What's done is done. I can't change anything. My family and I have suffered enough. Her tears streamed through the phone. I heard every sob, every hopeless plea. Rumors and scandal. The story spread everywhere. People talked about her, the bad wife who lost everything due to her reckless lifestyle and betrayal. But I wasn't happy when those dirty details and sensitive images from her discarded stuff were exposed. Some relatives and friends expressed shock and disgust. I can't believe it. A woman we once admired lives like this. Only self-destructive people deserve that. Still, I felt a bit of pity. She chose the wrong path, and consequences were inevitable. The nightmare continues. The house returned to its place, but is no longer a happy home. My family still lives there, but painful memories haunt like ghosts. Once a neighbor told me she tried to come near the house, even climbed the fence to take back old belongings, but was stopped by security. She also received threatening messages warning her that if she dared touch the house, there would be consequences. I don't support violence or excessive revenge, but I can't forgive her either. Lost faith in love. Her story quickly ended with a new marriage, this time to another man. But none of us believe that marriage will last. I heard she lives quite closed off, rarely contacts old friends, and shows signs of mental decline. My thoughts. Looking back, I wonder if I went too far. Could there have been a better way to settle things peacefully? But then I remember sleepless nights, false accusations, the feeling of betrayal and hurt. I recall her cold look when she refused to try saving our marriage with me. I think about everything I did for the family, for the home, and I know I have no regrets. Closing words. Life is like that. Some choose the wrong path, and some must pay the price for those choices. I learned that you can't force anyone to love you or preserve happiness when they no longer want to. Revenge wasn't the goal. It was the last way I found to protect what was mine. And no matter what happens, I still hold hope for a better future, free from the burdens of the past. Story 2. The destroyed wedding dress. The dark secret of my brother-in-law. My name is James, and this story is about a chaotic and painful time in my life involving my ex-wife, my younger brother, and the house I poured my heart and soul into building. From the beginning of our marriage, my wife and I had happy days. We built everything from scratch, borrowing money from family and working hard to build our dream home. My family works in construction, and even my parents personally helped with building to cut costs. I agreed to pay off the materials little by little while my wife spent most of her time hanging out with friends or working a part-time job that I thought wouldn't affect family life much. But after only 2 years, everything began to change. The woman I once loved became distant, no longer caring about the family as before. She started cheating, or rather, she never stopped cheating. I never found out the full truth but saw the clear signs I didn't want to face. When I tried to hold on and save our family, she turned around and accused me of abuse, filed for a restraining order, forcing me to live in my childhood bedroom. The house that my family and I had worked so hard to build now belonged to her, but in reality, she didn't fully own it, because my family still owed money for the materials and labor. While I was pushed out, she casually welcomed her lovers into the very house I built. The pain was indescribable. After a thorough investigation, my lawyer found out that the house was only mortgaged for the land. The frame materials and construction details were not recorded on any documents, meaning the house didn't legally belong to her. When she and her boyfriend went on vacation, I decided to act. With the help of my family and house-moving experts, we used equipment to lift the house and move the entire structure off the land. She came back to find only an empty foundation, exposed pipes and wires, and a dilapidated shed with a few personal belongings. Her reaction was surely surprise, anger, and despair. But the story didn't end there. A close family friend known as Big Bob, a local legend for his toughness and bluntness, helped us execute a nuclear-style revenge. We discovered that she and her boyfriend engaged in filthy and perverted activities. There were extreme pornographic photos magazines with animal and adult content and bizarre-shaped sex toys hidden throughout her belongings. Even worse, her photos were used on fake dating magazines with her real phone number, causing her to change numbers multiple times due to harassment. Someone even altered her mailing address to send obscene spam everywhere she ever lived or worked. During the time she was under separation, her car caught fire in the parking lot of her workplace, and she didn't get insurance notifications on time. Flyers with explicit photos of her were posted all over the local church workplace and neighborhood. Police investigated but couldn't trace the source. After the dust settled and she agreed to sell the land back at a reasonable price, even though she had paid twice, and the restraining order was lifted, the house was reinstated to its original place intact as if it had never been moved. But she was not. Her life spiraled into chaos. She gained weight, relationships fell apart, and her new marriage didn't last. I know what I did, can't undo the harm she caused, nor can it bring back lost years. But I have preserved justice for myself, my family, and what we built. If you enjoy dramatic stories with nuclear revenge themes like this, please hit subscribe and follow the channel so you don't miss the next stories. Story 3. The Light at the End of the Tunnel, A Journey Out of Darkness. My name is Anam. I'm 26 years old, and the story I'm about to share is about the most painful years of my life. The wounds I endured within my own home, and my journey to find the light in a soul I thought was lost forever. When I was a child, our family had 3 siblings, and I was the youngest. My father, the man I once called Dad, turned out to be the darkest shadow of my childhood. For years, he was not only a cold and distant father, but also an abuser who harmed both my body and soul as well as those of my siblings. The memories of beatings and abuse still haunt me to this day. Sometimes I couldn't understand how someone could be so cruel to their own children. I remember every tear, every bruise on my skin, and the helplessness of not being able to tell anyone out of fear, shame, and the suffocating silence in our home. However, that silence lasted too long until I finally couldn't bear it anymore and decided to speak out the truth. Speaking up was far from easy. I was looked down upon by adults in the family. Some didn't even believe me. But the truth came out, and my father was arrested and sentenced for child abuse and domestic violence. His sentence wasn't harsh enough compared to what me and my siblings endured, but it marked the end of those painful days. He was sentenced to 4 years in federal prison, along with charges for illegal possession of drugs and firearms. During my teenage years after my father went to jail, my life spiraled into another dark path. I lived in a neighborhood full of vice, got involved with the wrong crowd, and gradually fell into drug dealing just to get by. I remember the long, restless nights knowing I was going the wrong way, but feeling like I had no other choice. I only sold marijuana, something I thought was harmless, and at least it helped me get food and pay rent. There was a man named Greg, a senior member of the gang who controlled my area. Greg wasn't cruel, at least not to me. He seemed more humane compared to others, and helped me a lot during those tough times. He didn't just give me money, but also helped me avoid dangerous trouble. At first, I thought I was just lucky to have caught his attention, but then he told me he understood my situation, knew my father was in prison, and knew the wounds I carried. Once, when I was sitting on the sidewalk exhausted and ready to give up, Greg came up beside me, placed his hand on my shoulder and said, "Anam, your life isn't meant to be dark forever. You have the strength to overcome. Don't let your past decide your future." Greg's words were like a small flicker of light in my darkness. I started thinking about a different path, one that wasn't filled with crime and pain. I wanted to live a peaceful life, to reclaim the childhood dreams that were shattered. I began seeking support from organizations helping abused children, joined therapy sessions, and tried to finish the education I had abandoned. Every day was a struggle to heal the wounds inside me and rebuild myself. It wasn't always easy. There were moments I felt I couldn't go on, loneliness and despair creeping back. But I knew I couldn't give up. I thought about my siblings and all the other children out there needing a voice, a guiding light. Over time, I regained confidence and became the person I had hoped to be. I didn't just escape the darkness of the past, I found joy in my present life. My story isn't only about pain, it's about recovery, humanity, and hope. I want to send this message to anyone fighting deep inner pain. Never give up. Never let your past stop you from moving forward. Each of us has the power to heal our wounds, to rebuild life from the broken pieces of the past. And I believe the light at the end of the tunnel always exists, as long as you have the courage to keep walking. Thank you all for taking the time to accompany me through this challenging and emotional story. I know that wounds from the past never heal easily, and the path to recovery is never straightforward. But it is through these trials that we discover our true strength, our perseverance, and our belief in a better tomorrow. I hope my story can be a small light guiding those who feel lost, struggling with their own darkness. If you or someone you know is facing difficulties, don't hesitate to seek help. Don't let silence or fear block your steps. Remember, you are not alone. This community is always ready to listen and share. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe to Reddit Echoes, and share, so more people can find comfort and hope in real-life stories like this. See you next time in more stories not only to tell, but to heal and inspire us all.